focus on the Storm. We were mentioning the one Storm fight where he jumped in, he didn't get the BKB off, but it was also a very good reaction by the line that he instantly got that Hex off, and which probably caught no one off surprise there.
They would have lost a lot harder if it wasn't for that support play from Boogie and Valak. So, with that, Enigma is the final pick, gentlemen. Did anyone see this coming, by the way, out of curiosity?
No.
What are your thoughts on Enigma here, Cap?
I mean, it's big team fight potential, but I really thought they were going to be going hard in the paint for early aggression, right? You pick up the Rubik, unless you're at combination, you grab... I think it was really important that they make Slardar go for a Blink Dagger and be a heavy initiator, because I feel like Slardar's pretty heavily countered here against Bloodseeker. You guys talked about the burst damage possibilities. Like, his sprint is not going to be a whole lot, really that viable in many team fights. So I think they needed to be aggressive with those three, and then you have the extra utility out of the Beastmaster, and then the Wind Ranger takes over essentially the one position, but they just be very aggressive in trying to end the game by 35.
No, that's not their style, though. If you look at last game, they lost the lanes, and then they just completely came back by far better team play, moving around the map as 5, using all their smokes, trying to fight with Roche, and they just, constantly fought. And this lineup versus ASC, like, Vega's team fight is unquestionably better. Firstly, they have better vision with a Hawk. They have several AoE stuns on top of Black Hole. And for ASC, I mean, Bloodseeker, not the best team fight hero, especially once BKB start coming out. Lina and Shadow Demon, especially as support heroes, don't really offer that much.
To me, 4SC they kind of have their own style in terms of, it doesn't seem very safe to me. When you pick a Bloodseeker, it generally is not safe unless you run this AoE combo around it. And they like the hero, obviously. They have played it, they won with it, and it is successful for them, but it's not safe to me. Like, Lina as well as Shadow Demon support is also not safe.
You have to get something done
You
early.
smoke, if your smokes are not successful, you often tend to do nothing in that game, and you just get picked off. 4SC likes to run that style. It's just, I guess it's all or nothing at this point for them. So they might as well go with a strat that can go either way, really.
Well, I guess it got them here, so let's see if they can take them all the way. Before we let you guys go, who do you think is going to win this? Originally, 4Ikers was the team most were predicting after Game 1. Do you see this going to a Game 3? Or do you see it being a 2-0 sweep here for Vega?
I like Vega's draft a lot more. I mean, before we both said 2-0 for ASC, but I favor Vega's draft more. They have better team fight. I think it suits them a lot more, and I think they're prepared for AFC's style.
I think I said 2-0 as well here, and the problem I see is that on the side of 4SC, the draft seems even more scary.
Very
it
volatile.
seems even more scary. Whereas before you have a Weaver and a Viper, you can make it work. It's not great going into the mid game if you're behind, but they were ahead and they didn't make it work.
All right, with that, we're going to let you guys type a break here. We'll bring you back for the post-game analysis, and Capitalist, we're going to take over from here. So, off the bat, Cap, we do see 3 wards planted down in the Vega jungle. They are trying to slow this Enigma, which is where Solo, as we just saw, tried to sneak into the enemy jungle, but he was rebuffed by the Shadow Demon. He's going to have a tough time here. Not sure if there's any sentry wards or if they're planning on buying any.
Yeah, one of the most interesting things about this laning phase is probably going to be the top. We have Beastmaster Mag facing up against Matumba Man's Bloodseeker one-on-one. This is a matchup that can go like heavily one side or the other. Most Bloodseeker one-on-one matchups do. It's all about whether or not you actually get those Blood Rage last hits and keep your HP up. Otherwise, he can easily be zoned out by the double bores. But I don't see that likely. I think Matumba Man's a good enough player. He should do fairly well in this lane. Then you have the one-on-one matchup of No One's Wind Ranger up against Nymphy's Shadow Fiend. We've seen before in the past that Wind Rangers can really take it to Shadow Fiends in the early laning phase, abusing Wind Run and trying to keep them zoned out as much as possible, but No One focusing a little bit more on a CS game right now.
Yeah, Nymphy has already chewed through all of his mana. Doesn't have any more raises available. Still waiting on that bottle to make its way out here around the 2-minute mark, but looking at the jungle, what do you think the play here is for Enigma? He tried to go into the enemy jungle. He was denied. It looks like he could make that move now with Boogie's here, or do you like him sticking around with a limited set of camps just in case this bottom lane needs help?
I would have thought that it would have been the best play to go top, where the Bloodseeker is super susceptible to being very aggressive, like he is right now. I mean, he pops that Blood Rage, and he starts pushing forward. You can easily make that turn if all of a sudden the Enigma comes in from the side. But I guess he feels it's a little bit more important. I mean, he got rebuffed, first of all, but then he maybe feels it's a little bit more important for him to be a part of that bottom lane, a part of that like aggro tri-lane that is sort of being run by 4ASC to make sure the Slardar isn't shut down. Like Slardar, I feel like already has enough going against him in the mid game. But we'll see if they actually make the dive here on Mag.
Mag is getting pursued heavily, but he has the south. With that, Matumba Man taking some tower shots on the way out, but fairly durable. He'll now immediately look to heal up, and that's the cool thing with Bloodseeker in the lane is if he's not low enough that you can send him home, he heals right back up, and now he's traded nothing for all of your consumables.
Yeah, you have to try and punish him immediately after he makes an aggressive play like that, but he runs back, he gets two last hits.
Bottom lane, though, we may have a wraparound brewing here. The Enigma's moving into position. It's going to find Boogie. Doesn't have enough mana for a Malefice, and don't really want to be using that unless you have a guaranteed kill, so he'll back off for now.
Yeah, this is still good pressure on Pasha. They're going to go on Trixie now, trying to pop that sprint in order to close the gap, but miss Split Earth plus a 2-man Light Strike array, and that'll easily keep Vega at bay.
Yeah, it is forcing the Enigma out of the woods. He's not farming right now, waiting for the camps to respawn, and that's kind of the downside here to only having 2 camps available, is you farm them quickly and then you're just sitting around for nearly half a minute.
Yeah, and you're still keeping the Slardar down. Like, the Enigma's coming over, but the Slardar is still not getting as much CS as he normally would, right? So it's still a really bad situation for him. Top lane, Matumba Man seems to be doing really well. He's pressuring forward, as he should, to kill the boards as soon as possible. And once he gets those last hits, he's in a great position. And middle lane seems to be going all right for Nemphy. He's going to start taking a CS lead. He's currently a little bit down, but that's to be expected.
So disruption bottom, Boogie engaging. Trixie has found out Pasha, and with the support of Alex, looks like they will get the first blood here. He tries to stick up turns on the Alex, can't get the job done. He had no backup. The Leshrac was making his way home, and I believe they spotted that movement from a ward off in the Radiant jungle. Actually, I'm not sure if they did, but either way, they seemed to suspect he was gone, and they found their opportunity to pounce.
Yeah, at the very least, they knew, like, no, the Enigma wasn't around. Now, our Leshrac's going to actually TP into the middle lane. They missed it. They missed the bottle recharge, so...
Uh-oh, that hurts. Yeah, trying for the bottle aura trick where you pass it off to your support as he TPs in, but I guess just a bit slow on the pickup.
That's okay. They'll still get a bounty rune, so no one...
It's more this bottom lane now that becomes an issue. Like, with no Leshrac bottom, Slardar is not doing much here.
Yeah, they can't put the... Like, they could totally switch things up and put the Slardar in a support up against the Bloodseeker, but you can't put Slardar one-on-one against the Bloodseeker.
Not at this point. He has 30 CS on Bloodseeker, and he's going to have a super fast level 6.
Yeah, you could rotate the Wind Ranger around to help out the bottom lane, but you can't fully keep her there. At least if you do, like, whoever goes middle lane is going to have a hard time against the SF as a melee hero who's a little bit under-leveled. So there aren't many situations where Slardar gets good farm. They just kind of have to gank up bottom lane, I think, as soon as possible, and hope that is enough to force 4ASC away from this aggro tri-lane situation.
Smoke by the Dire supports, and they're going to mosey over towards mid. Enigma in position to potentially counterplay this. Shackle coming through onto Nemphy. Big commitment from no one, and there's the haste turn. So he's going to have to back off, and it's at the wrong moment. Heads to the north, the rocket coming in. Oh, they just miss him on the disruption, but a hasted Nemphy pursues him. Up towards the north, the wind run will end. Nemphy might get shackled here on the chase. Shackle not going to latch. Seema joining this one, looking for the stun. Only finds Nemphy, but Boogie and Valix are going to block each other. Somehow they still get a range. Disruption comes through. Now Bloodseeker arrives, and no one will end up giving up your first blood, I believe. No, second kill, excuse me. And now the score, 2-0.
Yeah, and the support's making those heavy rotations. You still have the Clockwork, 1-1 against the Slardar, who is still 15-1 on CS. That's behind the SF, Clockwork, Enigma, pretty much everyone that's important in this game. So look at Matumba Man. Like, he is just fearlessly jumping forward because the Wind Ranger's dead. The supports can't really make good rotations. That's a big problem with running a Leshrac as a hard 5. Very unlikely he can make rotational plays.
I'll see him moving in. Shackle barely missing. If that connects on Nemphy, probably leads to a kill. Although, actually, Boogie was in the neighborhood. Might have been able to bail him out. Do want to point out, we have a TP already up on the Beastmaster, up against Bloodseeker. We've seen it already a few games now in the qualifier where it's absolutely essential to have a way to deal with the rupture pressure, and it looked like they were hoping to bait the Bloodseeker in top. I think that's why they moved the Leshrac there, so that when if he tries for a tower dive, they can counter gank Roar into Lesh stun, but Bloodseeker yet to actually use his ultimate, just content to continue free farming here in the top lane.
Yeah, our Leshrac is sitting at level 3. We're not going to get a whole lot out of this Leshrac, I feel, for the rest of the game.
I feel we just haven't seen many support Leshracs as of late, and it just seems rather risky. If he doesn't have a good start, the hero is so squishy, but good news is they have a quad core this game with the Enigma. who is starting to catch up. 34 CS now ahead of the Shadow Fiend. Granted, many of them jungle creeps, give a little bit less value for the number you kill off, but he's finding his way back in the game now.
Yeah, for ASC, they just got to keep making these rotations, keep picking off the cores. At this point, they're going to be in a really great position by about 15 minutes. They should be ahead in pretty much every single core to their opposer, right? The Bloodseeker is going to be ahead of the Beastmaster quite heavily.
No one's disrupted. There's a stun from Valix. Nails it. Follow-up nuke comes through, and they get him with the double raise. This was right at the moment when Vega were looking to strike a course towards the north. They're heading up to the top lane here. They do have Black Hole. Smoke was committed for this, and they have the roars. Wow, this is a big kill, and they should get him with the Malphas. Follow-up. I don't even know if they need the Black Hole here. Just perfect chain stun. That's a major takedown, as Pasha also thinks about it to go on Trixie. With the amp damage online now, all of a sudden, Vega starting to look a whole lot scarier transitioning to the mid-game, but it's Pasha's turn to get caught out. Disruption, Light Strike Array, they got him. Cogs are ready if needed. He's going to dodge the stun. Pasha heading to the right. And trying to TP out, goes for it. They'll have to hook, so he at least baits that out. A hook for a TP, it's something, but in the end, he still falls.
See if Solo, I think it's a great idea for him to stay up in this top lane because he still has the Black Hole. He should be looking to immediately get a core pick off. It's unlikely he catches the mid SF Solo because who knows what those two supports are doing. Since they just showed up at bottom lane, I'd like to see him attempt to make another go on the Bloodseeker. But Matumba Man not going to join that lane immediately. He's actually just going to go, I think, do a little bit of jungling just because it's safer. Kind of similar in the way that SF goes back and jungles when he feels pressured. But
well, Cap, I gotta ask you, do you feel like 4 Anchors has gotten enough out of the laning stage so far? They have a very farm Shadow Fiend, Bloodseeker on top, and the Clockwork doing well, but their supports are looking rather thin. And we talked in the draft and towards the end about how if this is an even game going later, Vega are just flat out scarier. Better team fight, excellent late game. 4SC, more of a kind of pick-off type lineup. If you're 4 Anchors, are you satisfied from here?
Yes, I would say absolutely. I mean, the supports do look a little thin, you're right. But they're both still ahead of the last rack. Obviously, they're not going to be keeping with pace with the Enigma, but I think the most important thing is levels, right? And they've got a level 5 Lina for pretty much full-time roaming dual supports. I think that's pretty good. You're going to see Valix really start picking up the gold, especially once he gets that Laguna Blade and they have more capabilities to just solo out heroes real quickly. A big reason why they're a little bit poor is the fact that Valix hasn't actually picked up any of the last hits on these kills. It's actually been Boogie who has been able to pick up his Tranquil Boots because of it, but obviously not that big of a deal. You really want Valix to be the one who starts getting the bigger upgrades.
We'll see a charge in here from the sprint of Pasha. Not actually going to engage, forces out the clock cogs and backs his way out. As we head towards the mid-game, hitting that 10-minute mark, it's a rocket coming out from 4 Anchors. Will scout out Seema. Does Trixie want to go on this? A little nervous with the Enigma in the neighborhood. That can soak up most of the battery assault damage and prevent any kill potential. So both teams transitioning into that farming stage of the game. Good wards on the 4 Anchor side especially, though, giving them a bit of extra vision. You saw the clever way this one towards mid was placed as he walked up the cliff, and Trixie's made his move, but it's on to 2. He's managed to block Solo away from this. Somebody in the Eidolons bringing them in a bit closer. Trixie may pay with his own life, though. If he does, not sure that's really worth it. Shackle coming through just to slow him down with the mini stun. They're going to have a power shot available, I believe. No one currently on it. Trixie with the TP out. Do they have a way to cancel Solo? He's got nothing.
Nice.
Had the Soul Rain, but even then, actually might have just had the Soul Rain.
Oh, bottom lane, Nifty's actually got an Invis rune. He's going to try and pop Pasha immediately. Whoa.
Just a random farming crush, and suddenly Nemphy's sad.
Yeah, that was super unfortunate there. Just the random crush. I mean, they did have vision. They did have vision of the rune being picked up, so maybe that was just like, okay,
I'm going to gone for a while now,
Yeah.
I'm just going to stun.
Yeah, I'm just going to crush. I'm going to get the CS, and most likely SF. There's a very good chance that he's around me, so that's why he backs up, hides underneath his tower. Okay, very good read by Pasha.
Well, 4SC moving his 3 in now. They're going to look to push this bottom lane. At the same moment, Vega also making a maneuver towards top. They're going for the 4-hero approach on the Bloodseeker. Rocket will fly through, not going to scout anything out. The Bloodseeker is backing off. Just good movement from Matumba, dodging most of these ganks and playing very defensively.
Yeah, they just threw a Hawk over there, which he killed immediately as they came across. So he probably feels like, okay, because they're trying to scout me out, it's very likely that they're going to go for an attempted gank.
Oh, they are going to find him. Shackle's there. The follow-up's coming through now as they power shot him, looking for the Malphas, the chain stun again. the ganker becomes the ganky. They kill off the Bloodseeker, who has picked up a Gloves of Haste here. Curious to see what the item is. Is this an armlet, a maelstrom, even a Midas perhaps?
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be the Midas. I think Matumba Man is trying to play this a bit greedy. And I'm not sure if I like it necessarily, because I feel like an earlier fighting build to just make sure that you triumph over the Slardar action, I think is the biggest play. But then again, it's kind of tough to go into these team fights. Vega Squadron very clearly have an overwhelming amount of team fight that you can't really fight into, so perhaps the Midas and going into the kind of later game ideas of just, okay, splitting up, going for pickoffs, but never true team fights, and just try and get ahead in the economy is the best idea.
But while he's busy looking towards that, Vega are getting the fight now items. They're getting a Necro Book and Mag. He's got Necro 1 complete. Solo's picked up his mech, and we are going to see a Blink Dagger from the Slardar. It does somewhat echo what happened last game. We haven't seen the bad fights yet for 4 anchors, but they had an early lead, and then they backed off for the Midas on Viper, and then it just took one bad fight, and Vega were in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Could happen again here if it is indeed a Bloodseeker Midas, which we're not actually sure if it is yet.
Yeah, it might not be.
It kind of looks like it, though, just based on the amount of gold he's saving up here.
We also had the Gloves of Haste picked up by no one. Not sure if you mentioned that one, but that's going to be Maelstrom. When no one goes for his Wind Ranger, he pretty much always goes Maelstrom first, and then he's going to go Axe Crit.
Oh, Shackle finding Trixie. The Blink Dagger reveal from the Slardar. Pasha finding the pickoff. Just more and more aggressive play for Vega as the games get later. This is generally how Vega matches seem to go. We've seen it, I think, 5 times now, where they normally do lose their lanes, or at best it's even, but they rarely dominate the laning stage. They get to the mid game, this 10 to 20 minute mark, and that's when they start looking for fights. Get your basic core items, try to establish map control with a ward or two, and then start finding pickoffs. Be it a Slardar Blink Dagger, we saw the Nyx Assassin level 11 in one of their earlier matches, and to some extent, feels like maybe it's all going according to plan, although Nemphy is going to throw a wrench into it, denying this aggressive Radiant Observer ward up near top.
Yeah, I mean, I know Merlini felt like they were more of like a 25, 35 minute team fight team, but I always felt like the biggest strength of Vega was actually in the 15 to 25 minute marker. I felt like right outside of the laning phase, once you start having those transitions, Vega usually upset the way the laning phase goes, or they win the laning phase and then they just dominate from there, one way or the other.
They might get caught here, though, Cap. There's 5 heroes starting to converge on their position, including a double damage Shadow Demon. He's going to find Mag first. He gets off the disruption. Now the hook comes through, but it ends up hitting a Necro Creep, not a core hero. Trixie caught out Boogie, likely to drop here. In fact, he will. Trixie on the run. Can he make his way out? He barely survives. 60 HP. A 1-for-1. Could have been a whole lot worse. Our Bloodseeker's still on the chase here, trying to run down the Enigma, but he TP's home and will make his way out in the end. So it settles into a 1-for-1 exchange.
Damn, if only Mag had actually focused on just right-clicking the Clockwork instead of trying to get out of that silence, he would have actually killed the Clockwork and made that a 1-for-2. Instead, they lose Mag and
quick reactions by Boogie here again, I have to point out. He gets off the disruption. That makes it so the Beastmaster does not manage to roar immediately. Then he roars Trixie in the end, but Boogie just a nice stalling job there. And like you said, if Mag was hitting him this whole time, Trixie dies. But he hesitated a bit, and he ends up not getting the kill.
Now the push in, we see the point booster actually picked up by...
No,
I know.
Did he sell the gloves, or they're just sitting in the stash? I thought he had gloves, right?
Yeah.
I guess he must have sold them.
So he sells them for point booster and now goes straight
I guess he was debating the Maelstrom and then
that's really weird.
I really want the eggs.
Yeah, he pretty much... I mean, every single time that I've seen no one play Wind Ranger, and it's been like 5 or 6 times, I've seen him go Maelstrom first. So combining with the selling of the gloves, it's kind of weird, but... I mean, I can't understand going straight Aghanims because I feel like you do need some heavy stats early on in this game.
He is rather squishy, and that's what 4 anchors really excel at, the burst damage. The Rupture, somewhat a counter to try to win run away, though you can evade some auto attacks. They've got so much nuke damage, as well as that Laguna Blade. We'll see Pasha on the TP out here at bottom. Hook! Oh, Trixie! Just a bit off the mark. Missed opportunity there.
Yeah, that could have been a big play. Picking out the Slardar, making sure he doesn't start making that transition into the BKB. But for now, Vega Squadron, I think the hero that they need to be most concerned about is actually Mag. I mean, if he gets that Necrobook 3, which he almost has Necrobook 2 already, You got to remember, they put him 1 versus 1 for AAC. Got to keep in mind that, like, yes, Matumba Man won that lane just purely through the laning phase and being able to out-CS the Beastmaster pretty easily, but they got to keep in mind that Beastmaster still got a lot out of that lane, and Necrobook 3 is going to be, I think, a really big factor in these fights. It's such a big team fight item. You could already see the way that Vega are leading up to team fight items.
I'm really starting to worry here for 4 Anchors. Even though the game is still quite even, they have not threatened any major objectives. The tier 1 mid's still up. They haven't tried to go for Roshan. We did end up getting a Midas out of Matumba Man, who's now up to 2,300 gold, but it feels like they're just playing into Vega's hands as far as how they want to approach this game. They're not really forcing fights early. Vega have the quad core. Leshrac even can be a core, although I doubt he'll find much farm the way the game's developing. And it must be for 4 Anchors, they're waiting for like that next round of items. Looks like Alina Yule Scepter is the choice. Nemphi, what is he building towards on the Shadow Fiend? Probably the BKB. Yeah, he's got his Ogre Club. And
BKB.
I think from there, you whatever the Bloodseeker gets, be it Blade Mail or BKB, then you've got to start just taking fights. But how good is BKB actually this game? You've got Black Hole, Midnight Pulse, Focus Fire, Roar, Amp Damage, Bash. I mean, it's not like you get a BKB and you can just run at Vega. They can still easily bring you down.
Yeah, for sure.
That's where I'm a bit worried for 4 Anchors.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about that. I'm also kind of interested to see what solo goes for this game. I feel like... Oh, blink away real quickly. Nice jump out. They also get the middle tower, but they were trying to go on bottom lane. Pasha managed to make a blink away at the last half second. Now he is thinking about reinitiating. Anyway, Solo's got 2,200 gold, right? I feel like Guardian Greaves is pretty good versus Bloodseeker because he's so dependent on getting that first kill, that the 15 armor and 15 regen of Guardian Greaves once you're brought below a certain percentage. Like, Bloodseeker commits heavily for a kill. If he doesn't manage to get that kill, then the team fight snowballs against him pretty heavily. So I feel like that low factor, the aura, is actually a pretty decent factor in these games. So I would like to see Guardian Greaves personally, but
could be a really nice choice for the reasons you mentioned.
Instead, he goes for the Blink Dagger. Okay, I mean, I thought BKB was his other option.
There's not. BKB Black Hole is almost unstoppable this game.
There's only Hook Shot.
There's only Hook.
I felt like those were the two obvious pickups, but instead he goes for the like very aggressive pickup of the Blink, which may be used for split pushing.
He can go Blink and then back into BKB. I feel like that's kind of the pretty standard choice. But
sure.
Well, Vega just not really feeling the heat right now. They're farming most of the map. There's aggressive wards from 4 Anchors, but we don't see them actually using them. They're not trying to pressure for kills. I think they're waiting for the next round of items, which they are about to get. The BKB coming out on Bloodseeker. Lina Yule should be done momentarily if it's not already, and your Shadow Fiend BKB, and then you go.
Yeah, I actually feel like Vega are the ones that should have been the aggressors here in the last few minutes to punish the Midas pickup, the Bloodseeker, who, again, if you just 5-man into him, Bloodseeker probably not going to be real dominant in the team fight. And then you also have the SF who still wants to make that recovery, right? Mech alone is not going to win you these fights anyway. So I felt like they had advantage and just kind of let 4ASC almost farm their way back into it. Now with the BKB, they have the Bloodseeker, and the BKB almost up on the SF. That's going to change a lot.
Well, there's a TPN from Slardar, and Pasha is not going to let this mid tower be taken freely. We'll deny it, Vega. Hanging on here in the mid game, just waiting to get their next round of items out. 4 Anchors about to hit their own timing. Looking for that first real aggressive move. It's been a very quiet past 10-12 minutes. Necrobook 3 is now completed. And both teams continue to farm. There's no real sense of urgency here in general.
Yeah. You can see just
for the storm.
It's the same thing as last game, right? Like, Vega Squadron actually had like a very farmed 4 position. Were able to keep their essentially 4 different cores. Their 4 position was a core last game, I would say. The solo just farmed up so much that they managed to keep them all kind of in the same area of net worth, while 4ASC very heavily focused all of their net worth on just their hard carries, and then the support just fell way behind. It's the same thing kind of here. They have Bloodseeker and SF taking a very dominant net worth lead, and then everyone else quite heavily fallen behind. I think that's fine for 4ASC, though. You don't really need much on the side of, like, Clockwork doesn't need that much. Of course, Lina as a support. You can get some pretty big items, such as the Aghanim Scepter and everything else that we see from a core Lina, but it's not a necessity, I would say. So I think things are looking actually quite good for 4ASC
Vega,
right now.
they have the Slardar factor as well as Inner Beast. They can roach super quickly, and they're going to gamble it. There's the clock on the enemy team. This is going to take like 10 seconds. Rocket flying in. It wasn't over the pit, I don't think. Nobody on 4Anchor seems to know, and Roche is already about to die. Is there a hook forward? Can they go on this? It's too late. Aegis claimed already. A gamble by Vega pays off in a massive way. They'll now scoop up an item that was dropped in the pit. Trixie just has to scratch his head. They're going in, though. They're going to fight into this Aegis. There's a roar. They're smoking. Radiant Ward spotted this movement, and I wonder if Vega looked to counter-initiate. For now, they seem to back off. They blink back from Slardar bottom lane, and soon enough, 4Anchor's likely to realize they've been spotted, but well, moving towards mid. Trixie, if he hooks on the Seema now, could get him, but didn't actually have the vision.
You know, a big, really big reason that Vega backed up. Look at the Roshan ward. It was placed right before they left the pit. There was a counter ward already sitting there from 4ASC, but obviously it doesn't give vision, right? So they don't have any vision uphill, therefore they don't know that ward is there. So Vega actually get really good vision of what's going on with 4ASC and where they go, and 4ASC don't realize it because they just counter warded that like a minute and a half ago. They naturally expect that there's no ward there.
Ends up leading to an Aegis, and a lot of extra insurance here for Vega as they head towards the mid game. I'm curious to see how exactly we're doing in terms of net worth, but it looks like it's at best even, if not Vega favored. Yeah, it's very close.
Vega are probably just going to keep on. I mean, they may have to use the Aegis just because of timing. It depends on how quickly Solo forms up. But once they hit the BKB on the Enigma, like, you're pretty much unstoppable in team fights, right? Bloodseeker is a very easy hero to read where he's going, and Enigma is exceptionally good against him. They have no disables to go through it except for hookshot, which is super unlikely that you're able to get it to stop a black hole. Like, your positioning as a Clockwork has to be like somewhere way off on one of the flanks in order to catch the Enigma if he does a simple straightforward black hole that catches Bloodseeker and zones the rest out.
I'm just not feeling like this is the tempo 4Anchor's won. Almost no kills, everybody farming, 4 cores on the enemy team, Bloodseeker not really snowballing, and they do want to change it up, Cap. Here comes the backstep. They're looking for that big initiation. If they can isolate Solo, maybe they can cause that black hole to be ineffectual at best, but the hook is an airball from Trixie, and he still marches in. The whole team's waiting for this. The counter clutch comes out, and now they look to get just slaughtering them where they stand. Nemphy's gonna die as well, and now Mag in front dealing with Matumba Man. Valix also gets off the finger, but everybody's got to scramble and run. 3 dead immediately. Boogie likely to be the 4th, and they black hole in Matumba Man. The Shadow Demon dies in the tree line. They shackle him as well. That's a full 5-man wipe, even through the Clockwork buyback. Oh, God. It started with a whipped hook, and it just got worse and worse from there.
Yeah, Solo played that excellently well. I'm really surprised they didn't go for Solo first, but the Clockwork whiffing the hook and not going for the Enigma. Solo then played it where he went very defensive. They basically had 3 heroes going for him, and he managed to blink away and then stun up. I think it was the Lina or somebody. Like, he stunned up somebody at that point in time as he was backing themselves away. There were basically no support behind the cores of 4AAC, who pushed forward to deal with the rest of Vega. So Solo actually was a big distraction, and in the end, seeing that opportunity, manages to catch the Bloodseeker at the very end, gets them an extra huge kill, the full wipe, and now Vega Squadron are rapidly going to get out of control with the BKB coming up on the Slardar. You've got a Leshrac who's actually going to be able to tank up a decent amount. I mean, I said we weren't going to see anything out of this Leshrac, and I really feel like the rest of the team has been the biggest factor. But
he's
now
got 2,000 gold.
Yeah, now that they've won fights and Leshrac can actually get some sort of survivability item or something utility, he will actually be able to do a lot in these fights. And
1 fight, Cap, 7,500 gold swing practically.
Yeah.
That is brutal stuff for 4Anchors, and it's just not the nature of their draft to be trading evenly, heading into mid game, and then lose 1 big fight. I don't know. It does feel a lot like last game. They had a core that's more of an early to mid-game hero generally. The Bloodseeker, much like the Viper, someone who wants to push the tempo, stay ahead, and keep the opponents down. And he tried to play the farming game. They may find Solo here bottom lane with a Rupture. I'll just TP out. They also don't have many ways to deal with that BKB TP. They only have the hook, which is going to allow Vega to play a little more aggressively on their split push here as the game moves along. it's starting to feel like it's Vega's game to throw. Even though it's even, they just have that natural team fight advantage and a lot of insurance against the types of plays 4Anchors can make.
There's the other BKB when Ranger grabs hers. You
Triple
also
BKB,
have,
I believe.
Yep, the Enigma about to grab his, and then I believe the Blink Dagger coming in for Mag. So now they actually have a decent amount of initiating factors, so they can initiate with the Beastmaster, stunning someone up, preferably like the Bloodseeker or the SF, and then popping Necrobook and going for that. And as for AAC trying to react to that with like the defensive disruption or what have you, then there's the counter initiation play from Enigma. Got to be able to get the black hole, and that's always I feel the best way to play Enigma is not as the first initiator, but the second one, right? That sees the reactionary plays from the enemy team and then finds the perfect black hole, because naturally the initiation chaos factor is going to make the enemy team mess up. The best of teams make some sort of positional error when they react to an initiation.
And from that sense, this is the dream Enigma game. You've got the Force Staff from Leshrac to help him potentially initiate. Shackle, Blink Roar, Blink Crush, probably the biggest one. There's really no situation where Enigma has to go first unless something drastically changes this game. So
yeah, unless he sees a 5-man black hole and he's like, well,
it's solo, man. He is known for his YOLO moment, so maybe he'll find one. They are trying to split push here, or not even split push, but just straight siege on the side of 4Anchors. Blood Rage was used by Matumba Man, but as soon as that amp damage comes out, you get nervous. Now the Rupture coming out, Mag looking for the Blink Roar here, decides better of it, wants to hang on to it for a rainy day, and now they're going to lead with Alina Leols, but BKB was available, and it immediately goes on the Valix the other way. Blink, Black Hole as well, finds Nemphy. Where's that hook to counter it? It's already been used elsewhere in the fight, and with that, Nemphy likely to go down here. That's 2 falling. Chasing forward is Seaman. That's a support Lesh who tries to get aggressive. He will end up paying with his life. A bit of an overextension, but they found the third kill in the meanwhile, bringing down the prized Clockwork of Trixie. 3 for 1. And I'm not seeing how 4Anchors can win these fights.
No, they had to be able to get some fights as soon as they got their BKBs and win them heavily and just continue to be aggressive onto Vega. Once Vega got their own BKBs, I think a lot of things were lost. First of all, your dual support that was supposed to be so strong no longer does anything, right? It's very obvious you disrupt into Light Strike Array or then Yules into Light Strike Array. Those factors no longer there. And obviously, the Lena's nowhere close to an Aghanim Scepter, so her magic damage just falls to the waste. You've got a defensive disruption at best, and that's all those two supports really bring to the table anymore. You've got a Clockwork who's primarily magic damage and a bit utility with his Blade Mail picked up. That doesn't really do anything against the BKBs either, so all you have left is then the Bloodseeker and the SF. So really all Vega Squadron have to do is make sure that they roar one of those guys and black hole the other, and they've won the fight.
Now Matumba Man going into Assange and Yasha. I just feel like it doesn't matter what item this Bloodseeker has right now. He can't do anything. He runs in, he gets roared, or he gets focus fired, or black holed. He's fighting through Midnight Pulse. He can get crushed, amped. He can't just run in. It's like really it's only Clock who can initiate the fights, assuming that it's a 5v5. And if Clock jumps in, they have the Force Staff on Leshrac. They've got triple BKB, so you're not even afraid of that Clock initiation. I mean, I hate to sound like the sayer of Doomsday, but I just don't know what 4Anchors do. They split push okay, but it's dangerous to do that against the Hawk, against the Beastmaster Roar Blink initiation, against the Blink Crush, the chasing power of Slardar. They're really pinned back strategically, and even in terms of farm now, it's starting to go against them.
Yeah, they got to get a really big Roshan fight, I think. Roshan's up in 1 more minute. That is like the most likely scenario that 4AC make a comeback is Roshan fights in generally, like even if you are ahead, they're very awkward fights to take most of the time. So I think 4AC really got to strike hard in that. Hopefully they have a smoke still on their side to be able to utilize. Otherwise, no smokes in shop, and they have 1 smoke on Boogie. So that's got to be Roshan's
last smoke somehow. For 10 minutes, it looks like. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And you're up against the Hawk, as well as Power Shot even to scout, not to mention amp damage. So if you don't have smoke, you're going to have a very tough time finding those openings. And for Vega now, you can see them just starting to get more confident in their split push, their farm. The BKB cores are not particularly worried about any kind of initiation play. We'll see that. You'll stun, easily dealt with by BKB. It does bring the duration down, and that is a costly 10-second BKB charge to be spending, but just having even the 5 seconds, it's going to be very difficult for 4 anchors to punish that.
Is Enigma going for Octarine Core? He is right. I don't think Aghanim Scepter is the play, right?
You really think Octarine?
I mean, I don't think Aghanim's is a necessity here. Like, if anything, I would have thought, okay, you go like Arcane Boots
Bloodstone
into
Enigma?
Yeah, Bloodstone Enigma. All right, let's see.
Hey man, we've seen some like 35 minutes on the Yashas, so I wouldn't put it past anyone. It's this time around it's 4 anchors though. Looking for the Roche thing, and they're gonna find it. This is big for them. They needed something to shake this game up, but Solo's already there, and he's dropped the black hole. Where's that hook to cancel? Trixie can't find the angle. They were body blocking him as he swung around from the left side. They end up losing their Aegis. Matumba Man trapped within the pit. He's dead as well. Quickly dealt with both cores down. Now it's time for round 2. Nemfi with the Requiem engaging on Pasha, but Windranger's gonna run forward, strutting onto him. They've already lost the rest of the team. It seems Nemfi will pop like a pinata. Valak's likely to be next. There's the hook from Trixie. He gets in nice and close. Bloodseeker could have a field day here. He starts to slice through low HP heroes, but Windranger stands their ground. The Necro Book forces Matumba back. He loses thirst. He dies as well. 4 dead in the end, and that was with the stolen Aegis, or not even stolen, but snuck Aegis, I should say. That was even a buyback on the Bloodseeker, and another death going his way. A disaster in the end for 4 anchors.
Solo, man, his reactions was so good. The Roshan goes down and he immediately jumps into the pit. Watch what happens, right? He black holes, zoning out the rest of the enemy team. Watch what Pasha does with this. He blinks for, doesn't go for Nemfi. He locks down Matumba Man because that guy doesn't have Aegis. So you might as well go for him. There's going to be no support for them. The rest of the team just collides into the Roshan pit, and from there it's total disaster. I mean, the rest of 4 ASC can't even get close to the Roshan pit. Like, Nemfi comes back and he kills Pasha, but it takes him so long that he is pretty much dead by the time he gets that last right click.
And it really goes back to the strategic matchup issue here, where when Bloodseeker BKB in the pit, so what? Slaughter doesn't care. He just jumps in, amps him, starts smacking him, he gets a single bash, and he's going to lose like at least a third to half of his health. Other thing that fight was Trixie couldn't find a hook angle. They had the Beastmaster kind of bodyguarding there. I think the Windranger was in the way as well. So the black hole got to work its full magic, and it was such a good zoning black hole on top of that. Not just the hero it caught, but as you mentioned, the Bloodseeker trapped within. Nowhere for him to go. And now the Daedalus is up on no one. This is where the damage really starts to pile up for Vega Cap. They may look to start taking objectives here.
Yeah, and you like, even if 4AC managed to draw out this game a bit, Windranger is always going to be ahead of the SF in so many different ways. Like, net worth naturally, but like the SF is going to go for like a butterfly at some point in time, right? But that's already going to be countered out by the MKB. That's a natural pickup for the Windranger. I like what his item choices is instead. Assault Cuirass is definitely the right play because, okay, first of all, it can't go butterfly against MKB, which is a natural pickup for the Windranger, but also the armor increase against a Slardar who throws out that minus 20 armor. You really need that Assault Cuirass on your SF as early as possible, but I don't think it's going to change much here.
There's a bit of a push being dealt with. 4 anchors shoved that bottom lane in, but no one's there, and he gets the deny as well. Just a bit of salt in the wound as 4 anchors try to cobble together the next game plan. So far, this just hasn't been their series, and unfortunately for them, a loss here, they go home. They fall. Oh, there's the hook. Seema gets caught, but there's a 4-staff available. They have the Bloodseeker in tow, and with the rupture, he'll just bleed himself out, kind of embracing his fate and even impaling himself on the spikes below.
So it is going to be an Aghanim Scepter on Enigma. I didn't really see it just because I didn't think like the extra Midnight Pulse factor was going to be that big of a deal.
It really, I guess the one thing is it really deters the Bloodseeker from running in. Now he's running into insane damage that goes right through the BKB.
Yeah, I was just looking at going like, okay, you're not going to have particularly tanky heroes, so the Midnight Pulse factor is good, but
they are running 3 range. That's where the Midnight Pulse isn't really the best, but I think the way that Vega are approaching this is if we just kill one of the cores, most likely 4 anchors lose the fight. Whoever's left is getting focus fired or roared or amp damaged and bashed or all of the above. So that's where Solo has an easy Enigma game. Not only does he not have to go first, he doesn't have to find more than one hero. One key hero, the fight's pretty much going to be lost for 4 anchors from there.
And the pure damage is going to allow you to rip through like the high armor of like SF. He's pretty dependent on like just tanking up with through armor and hoping that he can survive through the physical damage that's being thrown at him. But then you've got the pure damage cutting right through him from Midnight Pulse. But what else do we got? Slardar, who's probably going to be building Assault Cuirass now after his Blink BKB.
I just can't believe the level of items coming out for Vegas. Consider how this game began. They had a Off-lane Beastmaster was getting completely wrecked by Matumba Man and just had nothing going for him. Solo had 3 jungle camps warded, never even bothered to try and de-ward them. The middle lane was at best a wash between the Shadow Fiend and the Wind Ranger. I think Shadow Fiend was actually out farming him to a decent extent, and the game is just not. Since then, they didn't do enough with that lead. It feels like, because Vega now have legitimately 4 carry heroes, and Leshrank, who's ahead of 2 of the enemy heroes, including the offlane Clockwork. That is a real sign of just how much Vega have gotten accomplished as a team. That they have a 5-position support with a greedy quad core draft that is not the least farmed hero in the game.
Oh, nobody on the side of 4ASC has a buyback, by the way. So if Vega managed to get some sort of pick off and push uphill, it's probably going to be a full Raxing. So 4ASC with the smart plays sitting inside their base, waiting it out. Unfortunately, they, as we mentioned before, they didn't have any smokes to work with, right? They only had that one. And this means when they're stuck inside their base like this, they don't have the opportunity to make some sort of smoke out play, get a pick off, or even a convenient team fight for them, and then take some control of the map before Vega, inevitably corral them back inside the base again. So they're going to be stuck here for a while. They're probably just going to be starved out. The best they can really do is just move out with Matumba Man most likely and get some CS inside of the jungle, but that's really about it.
Checking out the Radiant Vision. This is excellent map control they have right now. Would like to see one ward up towards that top lane, but I believe it did get de-warded a bit earlier. If Vega can just, as you mentioned, keep 4 anchors bottled up, it's not like they have a whole lot to farm for. Vega still farming this mid lane. No one's the closest to the 4 anchor squad, but again, not the easiest hero to go on. He's got a BKB. They don't have the clean initiation available. Trixie, though, is thinking about a hook, but he's got to be very, very nervous after the way these last few jumps have gone, and he's about to be scouted. In come the Eidolons. They'll see 4 anchors, and they'll usher them back towards the base, but Solo wants to go in. He forces forward, blinks as well. The amp comes out. Oh, they get the Rupture. That will deter any sort of push, but BKB now down on Shadow Fiend, and maybe that's enough for Vega to threaten high ground now. Sure, Slardar used his, but there's only really the one reliable damage dealer in fights, and that is your Shadow Fiend. The AoE ranged carry. They're going to begin their siege now. BKB or not on the Slardar. Nobody has buyback, as you mentioned, Cap, and actually nobody close. Unless there are multiple kills coming out, there won't be a single hero who has it for the siege. Vega pressing their advantage now. The wave getting quickly dealt with, though. And they may get cold feet here. Seems they decide now's not quite the time. They'll back off, look to re-control the creep equilibrium, and push these lanes right back out.
Yeah, no need to risk an uphill push, I would say. Like, you just got to starve 4AC out. Once you get the Aegis, this is going to be the 3rd Roshan coming up here in just a few minutes. Aegis and Cheese, you put the Aegis on Wind Ranger, she sits in the front, Wind runs and focus fires down the tower. It's a very safe way of being able to take down buildings.
And meanwhile, Solo making those solo plays mid lane. Somehow he's the man in front here. He's blinked forward and does force out a BKB. Matumba Man with the Rupture there. Now they're going to silence him with Shackle coming through, and he will retreat himself even further back. Bit unfortunate there. May really undermine any sort of aggression that Vega were playing. They have earned charges, but Solo also a bit low on his mana pool. How much is he sitting on now? 700. He's regenning a decent amount.
Is this a Lotus Orb for a Beastmaster?
Could be really good this game, actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, Refresher, I don't think he has the mana to use it. I mean, it's possible. Like, a lot of Beastmasters like going Refresher before, like, Aghanims. Oh, the jump in from Trixie!
Well, Solo doesn't have the BKB, or he'd be going right in for a Black Hole, but they still get off a Crunch here on Trixie, and look at the damage coming out from Pasha. He almost single-handedly brings him down. Now the Black Hole! It's down 2! Valak's caught within maybe the next man down. They've lost 2. It's about to be... Well, they're about to lose the lead, and now the 3 fall. They had Shadow Demon, or Shadow Fiend, I should say, buybacks immediately, but Matumba Man has a lot of move speed, but he just gets shredded by the one-strike damage! He can't even find a single kill. It's a complete train wreck of a fight. 4 heroes crumble. Not a single man down for Vega, and now they thrust forward. Wind Ranger has Focus Fire available. Only buyback on the Bloodseeker. Was close to that Bloodseeker snowballing a little bit in the fight, but with the Shadow Fiend dieback, there's really no way to hold this any longer. It seems Vega are on the precipice of moving into the International 5 as at least the European wildcard, with a shot to even take the qualifier slot over Na'Vi.
Whew, you know you're in some serious trouble, man. I thought that Leshrac was just going to be food for the Bloodseeker almost the whole entire game because he's a hard 5 Leshrac, but they end up winning some fights. Next thing you know, Matumba, man, he makes the right play. So when they go in like this, the initial initiation doesn't really do that much. Solo's going to get a 2-man black hole while Pasha deals with Trixie. I think inevitably, like, Vega win this fight straight up from there. But also, Matumba Man couldn't do anything. You're going to watch him drop quite low because no one is going to focus him down immediately. Pops BKB, focus fires on him, and Matumba Man's out, right? That's why Windrager's so good against him. Bloodseeker comes back, right? He wants to be able to get that initial kill to start snowballing, and he's going to go for the Leshrac. Watch what happens, though. The Leshrac's too big. He's just going to get blown up. He gets one little stun. Seamless Slayer lives. And then it's all over. If he'd gotten that kill, he could have turned to kill Solo, and then he could have gone for no one. 3 kills, a full HP Bloodseeker. Who knows what happens from there? But you can't even get that initial kill on the hard 5.
And a lot of it just comes down to the whole team's farmed. At this point, it's just a raw numbers game. Looking at the net worth, every single hero on the side of Vega out farming their counterpart on the other side of the map. Pretty much. It's just getting out of hand numerically speaking. It's a numbers game that they seem ill-equipped to win, and Bloodseeker just isn't that 1v5 carry. He's not if you're ahead, sure, but when you're behind, he can't just run in and solo the entire enemy team. Like, Matumba Man was close to maybe getting a couple kills there, but there was still Slardar with plenty of mana. He had his Blink Dagger ready. Bloodseeker's probably dying regardless. It's just not the way the hero's meant to be played. From behind as a 1v5 run in and try to fight it out against all these BKB counters, mass physical damage, and then to make matters worse, as you've been pointing out, they've got perfect ways to deal with him. Focus fire, wind run, minus armor, BKB piercing disables. I don't know what they do now, honestly. This feels like a complete repeat of game 1, but even more one-sided heading to the late game as far as matchups go, hero-wise.
So next items, we still have yet to see the Assault Cuirass completed. Oh, he's about to get it. So Assault Cuirass is about to be picked up by our Slardar. You also have Guardian Greaves who can be picked up by our Nigma, who can then go for like a refresher after that if he wants to. Still interested to see if Beastmaster goes like a refresher, if he goes for the Lotus Orb. I like the Lotus Orb idea just because it goes back to the idea if you take Roshan, you get an Aegis on the Windrunner, a Wind Ranger, you put her in front, she wind runs, she focus fires the tower, and you can put Lotus Orb on her.
If he wanted a Lotus Orb, he actually has the gold right now. Yeah. So with that, Hani seemed to think that it would be a refresher, and it looks like he is saving up for something a bit bigger here.
It's pretty natural for Beastmasters to want to go refresher. They usually get it before Aghanim Scepter anyway. The value of being able to have 2 Primal Roars is pretty good. And then,
I mean, it is a good Lotus Orb game, to be fair. You've got the Rupture, Laguna Blade, even something like Demonic Purge is kind of nice, so it could be a good pickup, but you get Refresher on Mag, and it seems like that's the plan for Vegas. Let's just have so many spells. Like, we can use Black Hole on one hero. We can double Roar the same hero twice if we need to, 2 separate heroes. They can just commit huge spells just for a single kill, and then the fight's over because the nature of the trap top. There used to be a Roach there. Vega making short work of it now. And I just go back to this Wind Ranger of no one. He's been a real playmaker for the team. Even if he's not always on the flashiest hero, he just finds his farm. He doesn't make mistakes, and you've got an MKB, a Daedalus in tow, and it's only a matter of time, Cat, before they just go for the 5-man high ground siege. This might even be now. Top lane's pushing. Bottom lane's going to be around the river. 4 anchors are about to face the hardest base hold of their life, and the most important one at that. A loss here, they go home.
Yep. Wait on the refresher, and then I think they're good to go. They just afford to let this creep wave go
there's
down.
Even a double damage on no one. It is wearing off fairly soon, but it's already going to do a lot. He runs directly into Cogs, then gets Rupture, but he's going to focus fire from the low ground. Tower instantly shredded, and now moving forward onto the melee ranks. He will be glimmered down the line. There's the 2-hero cause. The follow-up's coming in now as they hook forward on Trixie. He gets melted apart. The Black Hole is there. Laguna from Balance does basically nothing. Almost cut off Mag, but he's not really needed at this point. They do lose their Aegis, however. It's a 2v4 as the Wind Ranger will respawn looking for the Shackle. Off the mark, but Boogie forced out, and I don't see how they fight into this at this point. They're going to lose the melee racks. Vega could honestly even start thinking about a throne push if they won, but they may play it safe. Rotating towards bottom, they just want to ensure an insurmountable advantage here. They'll focus fire down the tier 3 bottom lane, and Vega Squadron one of the big dark forces of this tournament. Nobody saw them getting top 2. I think we're very few at that. But here they are, crushing their way through 4 anchors. Group A was said to be stronger, but Group B is really flexing its muscles now. This may be 0 teams from Group A even making it into the final 2 as they move up towards top. Focus fire again from no one. He gets ruptured. He doesn't care. He's just going to stand here, continue to do his work, and by the time these 3 heroes respawn, it's basically going to be checkmate. Mega Creep's about to come out. 4 anchors need a team wipe, and then maybe even something more. The tower will fall. BKB from Matala, he's dead! In just a second, the Hulk comes through. Trixie's dead as well. Nobody can fight. It's GG. The 4 anchors have been eliminated from the International 5 at the doorstep of getting to Seattle. It's Vega Squadron and Na'Vi who will move ahead, and now Vega will have a shot at a best of 5 to steal that main event slot over Na'Vi.
Holy cow. I mean, I thought this series was going to be close. I thought it was going to be initially 2-1 against for Vega. Then I saw that drafted game 1. Really thought, 4AC are going to take that game 1, so push it to 2-1 to 4AC. Instead, Vega 2-0 it, man. That was crazy.